All right, we're going to move into meditation with a new song to us. It's called So Much Magnificence. And it's got 2 verses. But let's just sing. You know what? Michael and I will sing it to you. And you can just listen and enjoy and allow yourself to kind of get as deep into the energy of this as you can. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. I am a portion of God made manifest, a spark of divinity in me. Love is flowing in. Light is shining out. I am a portion of God made manifest, a spark of divinity in me. Love is flowing in. Light is shining out. I am a portion of God made manifest, a spark of divinity in me. Love is flowing in. Light is shining out. Love is flowing in. Light is shining out. Love is flowing in. Light is shining out. And so as we move deeper into this time of conscious contact with the Lord of our being, I invite you to soften your body and breathe a little deeper. Notice anywhere where you're holding tension. Notice any thoughts that are distracting you from being present to yourself, to God, to this moment. Just be willing to let them go, to hand them over, to surrender deeper into the love and peace and joy and light of God. I surrender to you, dear God. I let go of anything and everything that has come before this moment that is not serving my highest and best. All things work together for good for those who love God. We know this truth today, that there is only one presence and one power, God, the good in our lives, in our world, in the universe, and it is working for our good. And yet sometimes we experience less than this good. Through injury, through fear, through lack, we forget our connection with God. So in this time, as we connect together heart to heart in a spirit of unity, we remember that God is good. And we remember that all things are indeed working for our highest and best. And so with this truth, with this trust in this truth that God is good, we are more willing to look at the challenges in our lives, to look at the places where we have come up short, to look at the relationships that don't work, to look at the challenges of our finances, and to look at the places in the world where there is war, and to remember that God is in it all. And each one of these challenges gives us the opportunity to invite God into it, to find the gift, to shine the light on the darkness, and to find the gold in each and every challenge. This is our work. This is why we are here, to find God in everything, because there is no spot where God is not. And so we raise our consciousness, our vibration, to that loving energy that finds a way to be grateful for every challenge, that elevates our consciousness, our awareness, our beliefs, our behaviors, our actions, so that we become God on this planet. So we become the hands, the feet, the hearts of God in all that we do. So when people see you, they see the presence of God. And if we can just surrender deep enough into this truth, God's grace will shine through each and every one of us as peace, as prosperity, as joy, as love. It is God's grace that moves us through these challenges into our good. And it is a courageous and open heart that allows us both to act from this place of our truth as children of God and to receive the love and blessings of others. And it is this courageous heart that allows us to heal our deepest wounds and to find once again the joy of living. With courageous compassion, I heal my life. With courageous compassion, I heal my life in the silence. And having touched the stillness even for this brief moment, we bring our awareness back to this time and place, energized, uplifted, for remembering our oneness in God, for remembering the power of love, the power of our hearts, and remembering how magnificent we are. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. I am a portion of God made manifest, a spark of divinity in me. Love is flowing in, light is shining out. I am a portion of God made manifest, a spark of divinity in me. Love is flowing in, light is shining out. Love is flowing in, light is shining out. Love is flowing in, light is shining out. Happy Sunday. How are you? Blessed. I'm blessed is the proper response. How are you? I am blessed. Because God is good all the time. Good reminder. We need that once in a while, right? So a man was my age, this person's telling the story, but looked many years older. He was an Army veteran. He was also homeless, cold, and hungry. I could see he tried to wash up before coming to social services department to ask for help, but his face and hands were clean, but his clothes were filthy. Though he claimed not to have any alcohol that day, the smell of it seeped through his pores. I wanted to get him into rehab, and I asked if he was ready to come in off the streets. No, ma'am, he said. All I need is a few dollars and some bus tickets. And if I can get sober enough, then I can go down to the shelter across town and they'll let me in. That shelter had about 50 beds, cots, really. The homeless were admitted at night and forced out at dawn to eat breakfast at a nearby charity. 50 beds and nearly 1,000 homeless in that part of the city. Winters here in Northern California are mean, cold, filled with rain and mud. Even though this man and many like him slept under the bridges to keep dry, the dampness penetrated everything. His clothes and bedroll he placed on the floor smelled moldy. The pages of his book that he carried were swollen. I asked him how many times he tried rehab. 2 or 3 times, he said, a long time ago. Well, maybe it's time to try again. I explained that I had a client who'd gone through the program 7 times before it took. Besides, I said, we're months away from warmer weather. What else have you got going on? I watched his face as he considered my offer. I thought I saw a flicker of hope in his eyes, followed by a shadow of doubt. He tried before. It had been hard, impossibly hard, so he had been living on the streets. Finally, he lifted his head and looked at me, and I reached for the phone. Shall I asked. He barely nodded yes. An hour later, I handed him over to a recovering alcoholic, also a veteran, who would drive him to one of the best rehab facilities in our county. "Come visit me when you graduate," I said as he left. I barely recognized him, the man, when he came into my office 6 months later, so tall and handsome, smelling like the outdoors, and holding a huge bouquet of flowers. This is possible. It's in us. There is something beautiful waiting to be touched in all those around us. I love this story because it speaks of compassion. The compassion of a social worker doing what she loves to do, help people. There's another kind of compassion I love in this story, is the courageous compassion. Courage. Compassion it takes for a man or woman to go within to be able to deal with life on life's terms, to be able to put away all the vices, the drugs, the alcohol, whatever it is. We all have something, right? That's keeping us from feeling what our feelings, from feeling the pain of life, the traumas of the past, the pain of the hurts of the present, and to be able to look at that. And the thing to be able to do that is to trust a loving God. The more faith we have, the more we trust that loving God, the deeper we can go into our wounds, right? So today, I'm sharing with you the fourth in my series of 12 spiritual principles for spiritual living. And today is about courageous compassion. That's, to me, the principle of the fourth step in the 12-step movement, which is to make a personal moral inventory, to take a personal moral inventory of ourselves. Now, not all of us get that opportunity because not everybody's in recovery, nor does anybody need to be in recovery. And nor are we trying to turn this into a recovering church. These are just spiritual principles. I pull them from different traditions. And this series happens to be on the 12 steps, something that I'm very familiar with. Matter of fact, on Thursday of last week, I celebrated 32 years of sobriety. Which is now more than half my lifetime. You good? Got me, Larry?
I'm sorry, yes.
I think I just went out.
Yeah, we did. I got you.
Love is flowing in. All right, good? Got a little ring up here. So it takes compassion. Sometimes it takes the compassion of others to help us to be able to be willing to look at ourselves. And then it takes that courageous compassion within us to be able to look at our own selves. I was going to say that one of the teachings in recovery anymore is not why the addiction, but what's the pain that we're covering up. Because we found out that if a person can touch their pain, their core wounds of their lives, that the chances are they aren't going to need to anesthetize themselves, and they can heal that. And that's kind of the new model of healing addictions. But it does take courage. It takes courage to look at what we might call our darker side, or what Carl Jung coined as the shadow. The parts of ourselves that we disown, that we're afraid of, that we don't want to look at because they're so scary. But the point is, if you don't look at them, they come out sideways. And they affect your life in a way because they are part of you. And Carl Jung taught that 80% of that shadow is gold. So if we put that shadow bag down, that stuff that we've been carrying around all our life, and are willing to look into it, investigate it, we will find the gold, and then we can use it to benefit our lives, and we can recognize it when it shows up, and we can say, oh, that's my shadow talking. I don't want to be that mean, inconsiderate, cruel person. I want to be the loving, kind person that I am. But I don't know, sometimes those things just kind of slip out, right? When you're not paying attention, when you're stressed, when there's things going on, the shadow tends to come out and affect us. So we want to take the opportunity, and the fourth step in creating a moral inventory, a personal inventory, is one of those steps where, and I didn't know how to do that when I first got into recovery, and luckily there's a way to do it. It's kind of written out, and you get a sponsor, and what I was told to do is go back to my first resentment. First resentment I can remember, 5 years old. We were having lasagna or something for dinner that I didn't want to have. And I told my mom, I don't want any of that shitty lasagna. Oh, how many people's shadow just came up? The minister cussed. So mom came up and washed my mouth out with soap. How many have had that happen? All right. You are my people. But I remember that as my first resentment, that my mom washed my mouth out with soap. But what I learned was I had a part in that. I cussed at my mom. I was 5 years old. I deserved it, right? I deserved to learn. Maybe, that's the way it happened in my house. So that's how we heal it. We look at our own part in our resentments, in our wounds, like, how did I participate in that? And sometimes, things happen to people that they didn't deserve it, right? They're victims in a way, but there really is no victim consciousness. They say we create these contracts before we come onto the planet, and everything, every relationship, everything that we do has been planned out for our healing as the grace of God, right? Because with every challenge, there's an opportunity for grace. So I don't think that God plans to harm us or wants to hurt us. But the other side of that's the human condition. It's difficult. But the other side is that with every hurt, with every pain, with every wound, there's the grace of God that gives us the blessing. Jack Kornfield says, the courageous heart is the one that is unafraid to open to the world, to care no matter what. So when I was in ministerial back in the 90s at Unity Village, you got the opportunity to go to a lot of workshops and things at different ministries around the area. And I went to this workshop one time by an unknown author at that time named Debbie Ford. And she had just written a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. I love that title. And in that lecture, the one thing I came away from that I remembered was a quote from Jesus that said, if you bring forth what is within you will heal you. If you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you. Jesus. I was like, that was heavy. And so I go back to Unity Village, back to school, and to our metaphysical library. By the way, at that time, I'm not sure if it's still true, the library at Unity Village was the second biggest metaphysical library in the country. So we had some resources. And so I'm looking all over the Bible and all the indexes and everything for this quote from Jesus. And it turns out it was from the Gospel of Thomas, which is not part of the Bible, right? And I was working with this quote, this teaching. If you bring forth what is within you will heal you. If you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you. So Jesus was a psychologist way ahead of his time. Over 2,000 years ago, he knew this truth that if we don't get in touch with our shadow, it will destroy our lives. It will run us, and it will run us into the ground. So it takes that courageous heart to be able to look in deeper at ourselves and find the truth that is in the darkness. And how do we find the truth in the darkness? We shine the light on it. we shine the light of truth onto it, and it transforms anything that is dark into a blessing. So I haven't told Myrtle Fillmore's healing story in a while, and I want to tell it today because I'm hearing it and I read it with different eyes this time, and I want to share it with you. Myrtle Fillmore, for those of you who may not know, might be new to Unity, was a co-founder of our movement with her husband, Charles. And she was very sick at the age of 40, 42. She was only given a few months to live. And she started attending these New Thought lectures and heard this truth that she was a perfect child of God, and therefore she did not inherit sickness. She had TB, which was not inherit. You don't inherit tuberculosis and TB anyway, but she used that affirmation to heal herself. And this is what she said: I had made what seems to me a discovery. I was fearfully sick. I had all the ills of mind and body I could bear. Medicine and doctors ceased to give me relief. And I was in despair when I found practical Christianity, or New Thought. I took it up and I was healed. I did most of the healing myself because I wanted to understand for future use. This is how I made what I call my discovery. I was thinking about life. Life is everywhere, in the worm and in the humans. Then why does not the life in the worm make a body like a human's? I asked. Then I thought, the worm has not as much intelligence and sense as a human. Intelligence, as well as life, is needed to make a body. Here's the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by intelligence in making all forms. The same law works in my own body. Life is simply a form of energy and has to be guided and directed in our body by our intelligence. How do we communicate intelligence? By thinking and talking, of course. Then it flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results. I told the life in my liver that it was not torpid or inert, but full of vigor and energy. I told the life in my stomach that it was not weak or inefficient, but energetic, strong, and intelligent. I told the life in my abdomen that it was no longer infested with ignorant ideas of disease, but there by myself and by my doctors, but that it was all a thrill with the sweet, pure, wholesome energy of God. It was a mouthful. I told my limbs that they were active and strong. I told my eyes that they did not see of themselves, but that they expressed the spirit of the sight of spirit, and that they were drawing upon an unlimited source. I told them that they were young eyes, clear, bright eyes, because the light of God shone right through them. I told my heart that the pure love of God flowed in and out through its beating, and that all the world felt its joyous pulsations. She went through all the centers of her body, and she spoke these words of affirmation. But first, she noticed how she was treating herself before that she was complaining that her arms and legs were weak. She was complaining that her eyes didn't see well. And this is how I saw this and heard this story this time, is that there's that important step, and that's that inventory I'm talking about, to look at, what are the words you're saying to yourself about your finances, about your relationships, about your health, about our world? Can you do what Myrtle did and what we all aspire to do in Unity, which is to become more aware of that presence of God in our lives, the peace of God, the love of God, and to find a way to do that more often, right? But the first thing we have to do is really go deeper into recognizing and releasing the negativity and the things that we've been sharing about ourselves that isn't true. So how do we do that in Unity? We call it denials. not the kind of psychological denial a person has when they're drinking themselves to death and say, I don't have a drinking problem, but the kind of denial that says, well, let me explain. A denial is eliminating thoughts and beliefs we have come to regard as false, limiting, and negative. True denial releases the energy expended in holding non-productive ideas. Denials are often partnered with affirmations, but first we have to clear away the wreckage. We have to clear away the negativity to make room for the positive thing. Charles Fillmore said that you want to do it like you're sweeping away cobwebs, just acknowledging, like if you're experiencing illness, you would say, this illness has no power over me. And you don't give it a lot of energy, you just clear it away. A little bit different than what happens with our trauma. We sometimes need to go a little bit deeper and sometimes even do some psychodrama to get rid of some of the pain. But with the day-to-day things that show up in our lives, we just clear them away. This traffic has no power over me. I'm going to get to where I need to on time. You know, the lack of money in my bank account is not the truth of my abundance. These are denial statements that clear away the opening for the affirmation and the good to show up in our lives. So it's about a personal moral inventory is about looking at our own stuff so we don't project it onto others. Another word for that is judgment, right? How much judgment do we carry about others and what's going on in the world? Jesus said it this way: why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother or sister, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log in your eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. There it is. It's all about our own healing when we're willing to do that. And we all have layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff, right? The longer we're on this planet, and we get to it as we need to, right? But the idea is that we do this self-healing, we do the work to look at ourselves. And then Jesus went on to say that, the eye is the lens of the body. And if your eye is sound, then your whole body will be full of light. And if it's not sound, if you're seeing anything other than the good, then we're in trouble, paraphrasing. So the lamp of the body is the eye, and if your eye is sound, your whole body will be full of light. Eric Butterworth, a wonderful Unity minister, said, our work is to see it right, not set it right. So when we see life the way it should be, through those eyes that Myrtle Fillmore created, the light of God shining through them, when we see with those eyes, when we see with the good of God, that's what we're seeing when we look out, then it will set itself right. Right? So how many of us go around trying to set things right? Any parents in here? We want the best for people, and we think we have to set things right. But our work is to raise our consciousness. I talked a little bit about this last week, that we don't heal other people. We help people become aware of their own divinity, that spark of divinity in me. And the more I get in touch with that, the more I heal. And others help me do that, but they don't heal me, just like I can't heal you. In Unity, our work is to remind you of your divinity. That's our work. And once you know that, everything will be set right. I'm going to share another story, but I'm out of time. We'll save it for another day. So let's take a moment to know this inwardly. and take a deep breath into the truth of our being, breathing in the love of God, breathing out, letting go. Thank you, loving Father, Mother God, for the good that is in our lives and in our world. Thank you for the truth that everything is working for our highest and best. And thank you for the courage that it takes for us to look deeper into ourselves, to own our own challenges so that we can live with more harmony and grace and joy and love in the world. We give thanks and pray this in the name and in the nature of the indwelling Christ presence. And so it is. Amen.